All right, one more video and then I'm out. I'm done for the day. Let's talk about, I'm really mainly asking you guys, but I'm going to give you my opinion, but, you know, I want to hear what you guys feel about this. About how many times a fighter, let's say an elite fighter, obviously guys want to come up, they're going to fight more. They're going to fight every month, you know, guys that, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, guys like Golovkin, Adonis Stevenson, and Kovalev were fighting like 4 times a year. Now guys seem to be, fighting a couple times a year. And Keith Thurman, you know, last night after the fight, he's pretty much talking about maybe coming back in November. You know, Keith, this is what happens when you become a champion and you're that guy that everybody's hunting for. You know, everybody's coming at you and you're no longer, you know, the big bad bully. You know, you got guys on the come up like Errol Spence that want your head. Now you Keith Thurman, you won a couple titles, you're sitting back like trying to be selective. How many times do you guys think a fighter like him, or a champion, or a top contender, or a top guy in any division should fight a year? You know, how many times? You know, I know Andre Ward recently last year, he fought 3 times. You know, Keith Thurman, he's been, you know, fighting 1, maybe 2 times a year. This is my opinion. If you're a title holder, and if you're a elite fighter in your respected division, right, you should at least be fighting 3 times a year, in my opinion. You know, you should be. I'm not a boxer, so I'm not sitting here trying to tell people on when they should not fight. But when you're in your 20s, early 30s, you should be trying to stay as active as possible, because you don't have that much time to go. At some point, you know, the speed, the reflexes, you know, they're going to wither away. They're going to diminish, you know, at some point when you hit your late 20s and get into your 30s. You should be fighting as much as possible, okay? This is how I feel, though. If you're that guy that's just going to fight 1 or 2 times a year, you should be fighting nothing but the best fighters in your division, okay? You shouldn't be fighting a Rod Salka and then fighting only once or twice a year, you know? You can't fight one tough fight and then fight a Rod Salka or a Jeff Horn, you know? You shouldn't be doing that. Now, if you're going to mix it up, fight twice, 2 good guys, 1, stay busy, I respect that, you know? You know, fight 2 guys, you know, fight 4 fights, you fighting 4 times, you fighting really 2 tough fights, or 2 good fighters, 2 matchups, 2 top elite fighters, and then you're fighting 2, you know, not so good fighters, maybe not the best, but, you know, respectable or whatever, stay busy, that's cool. You know, I think all of these guys should be fighting, you know, once a quarter, but, you know, like I said, I'm not a boxer. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I would do, because I don't know. I'm not in their place. I don't know how hard it is to schedule these fighters. You know, sometimes the guys train so much. They train for 8 weeks. They don't want to go right back into training right after a fight, you know? I mean, I don't know how it works, you know? I don't know how it works if you're with Top Rank. I don't know how it works if you're with PBC and stuff like that, you know? It seems like guys, the better they get, the more... You know, even the Charlo twins, if you look at them, Jamal was like fighting like 6 times in a year at one point. You know, now he's fighting maybe 2 times a year. You know, it's like, I think these guys should stay active, you know, especially when they're young. You know, jump in the ring. You're making money from it. I mean, this is your career. This is what you do for a living. But if you're not going to be that active, if you're only going to fight 1 or 2 times a year, don't be fighting some guy that no one cares to see you fight. You know, at least fight 1 or 2 really good fighters in a year. You know what I'm saying? You should be fighting 1 or 2 really good fighters. Mix it up, you know? Nobody's going to be like Chavez Sr. in the way he was when he was, 80-something wins, you know, without any losses. He had a whole list of long bums in that list, and then you have some really good matchups there. But the dude was staying active, so you can't blame him, you know, because he's fighting a whole bunch of bums, but at the same time, he's fighting, he was staying active. He would mix some really good fighters in that mix. You know, he would have some really good fighters in that schedule. I believe the more fights you have, you'll have more options and more time to get some stay busy fights. But if you're doing this 1 or 2 fighter, you know, fights a year thing like most of these fighters are doing today, nah, I'm not feeling that. You know, if Pacquiao only fights one other fight later this year, but he fought Jeff Horn this year, it's like, yo, dude, what are you doing? You know, you fight Jeff Horn. This is why I just made that video. You fight Jeff Horn, yeah, you might fight somebody good later this year, but you fought Jeff Horn this year. Last year wasn't so bad. Jesse Vargas, not a bad fighter. Tim Bradley, not a bad fighter. Yeah, I don't even want to see him fight Tim Bradley for a 3rd time, but Tim Bradley is still an elite fighter at 147. He's arguably still a top 5 fighter at 147. So that's how I feel about that. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not going to make a long video. How many times a year do you think a top fighter should fight? Not a journeyman, you know, but a top fighter, a champion fighter. How many times should they fight a year? You know, I would like them to fight at minimum 3 times a year. I would like to, you know, I would like them to. But I know that it doesn't always work that way, you know what I'm saying? Some fights get scheduled. You know, sometimes you wait for the outcome of certain fights. You want to see, you know, like Chavez is fighting Canelo, so you want to see if their fight, how that goes, and then you want to decide on based on the winner of that fight. It's not going to always work that way, you know, because if you schedule a fight that people don't care to see that much and not wait it out, you might not get that next opportunity, because by the time you finish training and killing your body and then the next fight comes, by the time you reach that next fight, that guy you were waiting for might be scheduled for another fight because they don't want to wait on you, you know? So I know how it works. Let me know what you guys think. Quick video, not gonna keep it long. And that's it. I'm done for the day. All right, peace.